I'm not sure what order we ought to go in, probably alphabetically or something, but instead, I'm just gonna call all the people that I see right in front. So I'm gonna start with Miss Laura first.
If you have tweens or teens, you know that you rarely get cheered for. So it was worth it to run just for that moment. Hi, as Nora said, I'm Laura Herzog, and I have been a member of St. John's since 2003, so 22 years, which is half my life. No Debbie Haley, but a girl can dream. So we'll see. And whenever I speak to any group or meet new people, or even when I'm lay reading, I see thought bubbles above people's heads, and you're wondering, where is she from? Why does she sound like that? And the answer, if you don't know me, is Tennessee. I moved here in 2003 to work for a newly elected, now retired senator, and have been here mostly ever since. I'm a cradle Episcopalian. My mom, well, I'm the granddaughter and great-granddaughter of Episcopal priests. My mom was actually born at Virginia Theological Seminary on the campus while her dad was in seminary. And she, along with my dad, stepdad, uncle, godfather, brother, I think I've got everybody, all went to Sewanee. So when I moved to Washington in 2003, my mom said, "My friend Louise has a church near the White House. You should give it a try." And so I did, and I fell hard and fast for St. John's. And it really has been, I joke, it's my longest lasting relationship. There's a quote by President Truman, "If you want a friend in Washington, get a dog." And I love my dog. But I think if you want a friend in Washington, get a church. And St. John's has been a really good friend to me over more than 2 decades. You tolerated and welcomed me when I came in my young 20s late, rushing up to the balcony, usually hiding coffee, sometimes wearing the dress I've been wearing the night before. Okay, we're Episcopal, we can handle it. In fact, I see Libby, I was saying, I think one of the first things I was involved in was Sandwich Sunday, and she recruited me. And if you are familiar, you buy 2,000 slices, we make 1,000 sandwiches for Martha's table. So that involved, in my case, borrowing someone's car, driving to Costco, buying 2,000 pieces of bread, 1,000 pieces of bologna, 1,000 pieces of cheese. But she said, I knew John Herzog was a keeper because he was so helpful with Sandwich Sunday. So got a little John and I did meet and date under the watchful eye of St. John's. We went to on the pilgrimages to South Africa and to the Holy Land. We were married here in 2009 in the newly renovated church. There was a question about whether the air conditioning, it was July, there was a question about whether the air conditioning would be on. It was, thankfully. Our son Jack was baptized here in 2012, and he and Lucy, my cheerleader, had their first communion here. I've seen the church from a lot of different perspectives. I mentioned a lot of different ages and a lot of different perspectives. So I mentioned Sandwich Sunday. I also served on the vestry. I've served on the investment committee, on the search committee when we hired Sean and Tweet elevated Sarah's role. And I've been on the welcoming committee. I've done welcome baskets for Rob and Sarah and Sean. And probably, I forgot, church school teacher. That was really something because John and I was pregnant with Jack, very pregnant with Jack, and I feel like that really made an impression on the teenagers. We also hosted a lock-in when I was very pregnant with Jack, and I managed to survive it. My favorite job has been dressing friendly beasts and angels and shepherds and the elite cast of the Nativity pageant. I think now, as a mom, I need readers. That's how I know I've been here a long time. I now need readers. It can be a challenge to get a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old to church every week. And my goal in getting them here, if they hear nothing else, if they experience nothing else, there are two things that I hope they leave here with. One, I hope they hear when, and I hope anybody that comes to our church makes an impression when Rob says, this table doesn't belong to us, it belongs to Jesus, and his way is to welcome all. And I hope they hear that life is short and that we should be swift to be kind. Did I say that right? Make haste to be kind. Be swift to love, make haste to be kind. So I think my goal for St. John's is for it to continue to be what it has been to me and to thousands of others for 200 years, and that is a place of grace in our nation's capital. I think we are that. I don't think that's always easy. I hope we will always strive to be guided by that, a place where all are welcome. Tall and small, powerful and vulnerable, and then all of us ordinary folks sort of in between. Thank you so much.
Gosh, I have no idea how to follow that. I'm Julia Coster, and I just want to say I'm so honored to be here with these other incredible Vestry candidates. To me, it really reflects what makes our St. John's community so special, that we are comprised of people with diverse talents and skills, and with the commitment to give back to this church that we love so much. Many of you know me from my recent work leading the overall Bell Tower Restoration Initiative, and I just want to say this project was such a gift to me. To work with so many of you, learn from your insights and your experience, and see your generosity and your creativity. We are a historic church with strong traditions, and we're also a congregation that has and will continue to respond to enormous change with grace and thoughtfulness. For me, the bell tower work was a great example of keeping what is important while leading and innovating at the same time. Just a little bit about me. I have been a St. John's member since 2010, I think. I have to go back and look. And for over 20 years, I've also worked at the National Capital Planning Commission, a federal agency. I'm trained as a city planner, and I'm deeply invested in Washington as a community and as a place where our history and values are embedded in the physical fabric of where we are, which I think is also a little bit of how we see St. John's. Throughout my career, I've worked with people to develop bold visions and the specific steps to move those big ideas into reality. Sometimes this work has been about leading outreach campaigns, convening stakeholders, or writing policy plans. And sometimes it's just doing whatever's needed to get the job done. As my friend Emma says, sometimes if you have to push the broom, push the broom. So I just wanted to share that I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and serve St. John's in whatever ways are needed. The Vestry are stewards of our ongoing ministry and programs, our historic buildings, the needs of the congregation, and our mission in the broader community. Just wanted to share a couple of areas where I thought I would like to contribute. I was really pleased in Rob's sermon today, so spoiler alert. He talked about how hard it can be to connect with each other. And what I think is so great about St. John's is we have established these amazing internal groups, whether it's the Flower Guild, the Ushers, the LGBTQ community, the Sisters group, that allow us to grow in both friendship and faith. And strengthening and supporting these groups is really important to me. There are also so many ways that we can invite others to join us at St. John's. It's always been through our ministry and our music, and I think there will exciting ways to use our technology to reach out even further and connect with people here across the region, even nationally. And nerd alert, one of the things that came out of my work is I would really like to identify facility needs here at St. John's and develop a long-range strategy to allow us to address ongoing capital improvements. So whether it's the HVAC system or when the bell tower ringer finally gives up the ghost, I think that's a really important thing for us to have so that we can plan accordingly. And so this is me offering to give you really detailed spreadsheets. I want to close by saying that all of you in the St. John's community has rallied around me in hard times and in joyous moments. I believe so strongly in the mission of this church and am proud to be part of the congregation. So I look forward to serving all of you now and in the future in whatever way I can, and thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Like that. My name is Brian Cordova-Rookie, and it is an absolute honor to stand for election to Vestry. And echoing what Julia said, it's especially an honor because these are 5 extraordinary people, and St. John's could not go wrong with this amazing group. So it's just an honor to be standing in the same room with them and getting to speak alongside them. A little bit about me. I grew up as a preacher's kid in a small farm town in Central California. I was raised very fundamentalist, really internalized that, and I became a church and Bible nerd at a very young age. I was the guy, by the way, when the NRSV came out, I was so excited about the new version of the Bible. I was like, the way future generations were Harry Potter books, that's how I got the NRSV. I preached my very first sermon at Bible camp when I was 9 years old. It was very involved. I didn't stray away in college like some people do. I went to Pepperdine University in Malibu, was involved in campus ministry. My summer jobs there, I spent 1 summer as a youth minister at another small rural church near my hometown. And for 2 summers, I went back to Bible camp as a counselor. I love scripture and s'mores. I mentioned I kind of internalized a lot of the teachings of this very conservative church, and that led me to make some decisions in my life. I stayed on the straight and narrow. I did what was expected. I got married. I had 3 beautiful children who are now beautiful, amazing adults. One of whom was kind enough to give us a grandson 2 years ago. Was a leader in the church. It was a more liberal, progressive version of the church I'd grown up in. I would soon find out not quite liberal or progressive enough. So we were very involved in that church. I was teaching adult Bible study and was happy there. But when my marriage fell apart for many reasons, I was able to finally live my life authentically. And I found out how not progressive my church was and that's to leave. So at that time, I met my husband, Kevin, who many of you know, and our faith was and is very important to us. We searched for a church that would be accepting of both of us and welcoming. And we found it in a local congregation of the United Church of Christ. We were very involved there. I served on the church council. I spent 2 years as what they call moderator, which is, I was Nora for 2 years in our congregation, sang in the church choir. But when we moved to DC, I'm an intellectual property litigator, and I founded our firm's DC office. And when we moved here, we decided to look for a new church home, not committed to a particular denomination. And we searched and we visited, and we finally found out, after all these years, deep down inside, we were both closeted Episcopalians. We walked into St. John's. I know, I'm trying to keep it to 3 minutes. I'm sorry. But I'm a lawyer and I'm a talker. So let me get to the point. But we came to St. John's, and we really fell in love with it. We fell in love with the building, with the sermons, with the service, obviously with the music. And we settled on St. John's, and I'm really glad that we did. And we spent a few months being something I'd never been in my entire life, which was a pew warmer. And I'm like, this is great, we're not going to get involved. That did not last long. I was Anthony out here. One day Anthony came and tapped us on the shoulders that, will you bring up the elements? And then he introduced us around, and we went to parish lunches, and then we went to the sort of beginning stages of the new LGBTQ group. And we found a sense of community in our new city for which we've been seeking. And that really got us focused on us. I usher at the 11 o'clock service. I occasionally read. I am co-chair of what's now known as St. John's Pride, the LGBTQ fellowship. And I would welcome the opportunity to take on another role that a Vestry member. I've not been here half my life. 22 years is not half my life. But I think why me on Vestry? And I think one thing that I would bring to Vestry is the perspective of somebody who walked in those doors with no connection to the Episcopal Church, no connection to the city, and stayed. I could have walked out, and I stayed. And so my goals for Vestry, I have several, but one that keeps speaking to me is to work with Vestry and clergy to make this that kind of welcoming place, to develop and implement strategies, and we're already doing this, but to continue creating and implementing strategies to give everyone that little tap on the shoulder, to say you're welcome here and you're included here. I want us to be that beacon that we talk about, that place of grace, so that everyone knows, no matter where they come from, or no matter what their faith tradition is, if any, that they're welcome here. And before I close, I have to mention the bishop's words. I really want us to continue to be, and I want to help us continue to be, the kind of place that offers the compassion, mercy, support, and care that our bishop talked about, especially to people who may not find it elsewhere. Sorry for the long
Hey, I'm Eleanor Odom, and gosh, listening to all of you, I need to talk more in depth with you, Laura, because we have a lot in common that I didn't know. This is great, I'm learning things already. My husband Peter and I have been at St. John's for 10 years. When we moved to DC from Atlanta, Georgia, where I had lived most of my life, and was very involved in the church there, and the church was there. I, was on Vestry, Senior, and the whole nine. I did it. I led the youth group. I did this and that, all those things. So when we came here, it was kind of weird because we weren't going to have any responsibilities. So we're church shopping. Yeah, we all have something in common. So we went church shopping and went to several different ones around the diocese and came to St. John's. And what really led us here and made us stay, you'd think I was going to say the people. Yeah, that's true too, but also because Luis was from Cuba, most of you knew that, and my husband had been on a Cuba committee in Atlanta at our old church. We actually had a sister church in Camagüey. My husband's fluent in Spanish, and he would attend sometimes the Spanish-speaking service here at St. John's, and he and Luis, really kind of connected over that. So that was sort of a different way of getting to church, but we went to the newcomers, a little class, and we made some of our best friends there. We just love it, and we love DC, and we love the church. I've done a lot, and somehow I got re-involved in all this. With the greeters, that's my favorite thing. We did Sandwich Sunday for a while, and buying all those things is quite a lot. But lately, and it's been sort of since the pandemic, I have felt this electricity at St. John's. I can't explain it. It's like a buzz. I feel it when I come in, and people are happy. We're meeting new people, and we're just getting a lot of newcomers, and I love that. I just feel that electricity. I've told Rob that before. If I were elected to Vestry, I would want to really get more involved in doing more for newcomers, because I think that's where my gifts lie. I can't do a spreadsheet, Excel. I'm on stewardship committee, we have to fill out stuff, and I'm always like, well, I haven't done that because I'm never really sure what button to push. So, but I do, I take my faith very seriously. I take my work very seriously. But if you know me, I don't take myself very seriously because I want to try to be a beacon to other people. Just real quick, I promise it won't be long. I've been a prosecutor for 34 years. So clearly I started at age 12. With that, I work with the Army now and travel, and see the world. Join the Army, seeing the world. I'm a special victim prosecutor. So I deal with all the worst of the worst cases, and and I like helping victors, so that's sort of another thing that I do, and I know I'm going longer, sorry. Just to sum up, my husband Peter and I have a blended family. We have 3 grown kids and a son-in-law and a daughter-in-law, and we also have a granddaughter, Harper, who you may have seen or heard me talk about before, and she's 7 years old. And just a quick story about her. We came to church with her. She was staying with us, and she turned to us at one point during the service and she goes, "Is there a coffee hour?" And I went, "Yeah, there is." She goes, "Oh, good, here we go." And I'm like, "Yep, she's Episcopalian. I can see that right there." But I'm really honored. I know we've all said that, but gosh, y'all are just so cool. I just don't feel like I fit in your category at all. One other fun fact, well, I think it's fun, is I was the first female acolyte at our church in Stone Mountain. My dad's Episcopal priest. And so, we lived next door in Columbus, Mississippi to our church. So whenever there was somebody who didn't show up for acolyting or whatever, guess who got to do it? Me. So when we moved to Georgia, I said, "I'll never be an acolyte again. I'm tired of it." And one of the senior acolytes, person who became very good friends, said, "Well, we can't have girl acolytes here at St. Michael's. We don't have that. She can't be an acolyte." I went, "Guess what? I can be an acolyte." So my first little foray into feminism. But anyway, thanks a lot. Sorry I went over. Sorry.
I'm Debbie Haley. More than 60 years ago, on a day in February 1963, my family stood in these very rooms, over in this corner, as my father, John Harper, was welcomed as the 13th rector of St. John's Church. I can honestly say I remember nothing of that day. My memories come from a picture taken of the 5 of us, my father, mother, and brother, and my sister Betsy, who is here with me today. We all looked a bit bewildered, overwhelmed, and were perhaps wondering what we had gotten ourselves into. What that 8-year-old me could not have imagined is the impact St. John's would have on my life. In turn, I've tried to support the parish I cherish by taking part in just about every ministry and program here. I've previously served on the vestry, as well as the vestry nominating committee. I scheduled and coordinated the acolytes on Sundays for 25 years. I've taught many of your children, and maybe even you, in church school. I've served as a reader, I participated as a member of the seminarian committee, and I've managed family lunch. In addition to these more conventional roles, I had the joy of running the Christmas pageant for a few years, and organizing the welcome reception for the Fisher family, as well as St. John's bicentennial celebration at the Hay Adams Hotel. I was married here in 1982. Since then, my 4 children were baptized here, attended church school here, were all confirmed here, and some were even married here, and I have 1 more to go, fingers crossed. Currently, I'm serving as a chalice bearer and a member of the Pastoral Care Committee. And just in case I haven't been around enough, I have reserved a place for my eternal rest in the columbary. My decades-long involvement with St. John's, plus my work with Canterbury Cathedral, where for 18 years I've managed an American committee charged with raising funds for the cathedral's upkeep and restoration, has provided me with institutional knowledge and a deep feeling for historical tradition. But I also respect the importance of change and growth as St. John's continues to meet the needs of an ever-evolving neighborhood, city, and world. We've been blessed with the passionate efforts of Sarah Akes Cardwell as she works to revitalize the Christian education program in this post-COVID era. If elected, leaning on my background in early childhood education, one goal of mine would be to further support Sarah and others as we strive to attract more families to St. John's. So here I am, 62 years after I first stood in these rooms as a child. 62 years of being welcomed and loved by St. John's. 11 Episcopal churches, and I counted. Tempt me on my route in from Rockville every Sunday. And despite the occasional yearning to stop at one, I continue on my drive to Lafayette Square. While my story of how I got to St. John's is unique to me, the reasons I've stayed here are ones I share with many of you, I'm sure. The friendly, diverse community, the commitment to the less fortunate, and the tradition of fine music and preaching that enrich every service. It would be my honor to continue giving back to a community that has given me so much. Guided by our rector Rob, assistants Sarah and Will, and Eric now too, and our gifted organist and choir master Brent, all of them supported by a stellar staff, it is my expectation that no matter who emerges amongst the 6 of us as the new class of the vestry, St. John's will remain a place of grace in the nation's capital.
Last but not least.
Yikes.
I'm Doug Estes, and I gotta say, just to be in the same grouping as the people that are the nominees for Vestry, I'm amazed. I mean, it's just wonderful, strong candidates, and to be in that mix, I'm beside myself. My story is really, I'm a simple person, and I married to Sylvia Martin, and I have 2 sons, both of them confirmed in the church. Been at St. John's now for 10 years or so. And then previously, you probably hear it in my voice, but we come from Atlanta, and then 20 years at St. Luke's there. We love the church, and then what draws me to St. John's is the amazing spiritual leadership we get. I love Rob Fisher, and I love Louise, and then I'm even amazed and proud of Marianne this week too. So it's just a lot of strength in the church. I think the other thing too that I love about the church, the music is transformative. It really is, and I love that. I'm a civil engineer by trade, and I work for GSA. And like Julie, I think if I'm on the vestry, I think my talent best served is probably what I do in my career as well. We manage the buildings, and we look at what needs to be done to maintain them and care for them and things like that. And I think that's a strong skill set I have, and I'm glad to bring it to the vestry. I can't really think of any other thing that I can make a joke or something like that. But that's about it. But anyway, I'm proud to be here and glad that I have y'all's ear right today. So that's all. Thank you.
Just want to say thank you to all of our candidates for those presentations. I might be exercising my privileges as senior warding and voting for all of them. But none of y'all are allowed to do that. But it's going to be tough, so thank you all, and I think that's it. We'll look forward to the annual meeting next week and voting.